Everyone talks about top design, bracing and voicing. And on an episode we did recently, we went into great depth about the anatomy of the acoustic guitar, but we kind of left out the backs, as one of our viewers very kindly pointed out. So today we're going to kickstart that conversation and talk about the backs of acoustic guitar.
Could play that last bit for minutes.
You're a bit lost off there. You were lost in music.
I was lost in music. Yeah. Hi everyone.
Hi guys. How you doing?
The dreadnought.
Yeah.
The machine for travelling, music travelling.
Yeah.
Well, I guess they all are.
Yeah.
What we doing today, mate?
Well, today, Chris, I think it's a pretty cool episode. Kind of overlooked by a lot of people. Some people think it makes no difference whatsoever, but we have some information about that. Today we're talking about backs.
Thank you, Barry. So when we did anatomy of an acoustic guitar, one of our viewers, Barry, said, why didn't you talk about the backs? We went through the whole body, the whole neck, everything, and completely just left out the back. And great question and observation. Oh gosh, it's such a subject. So I went online just to see what people think, which we often do. And, you know, there was some like experiment thing where they got, you know, several players, lots of different guitars, different backs, different materials. And basically something like saying the back doesn't make any difference. Where we've always said and always believe, and I truly believe, everything makes a difference. Every little thing makes a difference. Whether you can hear it or not is another thing, but everything makes a difference. These are such a sensitive instrument, machine, the mechanics, you know, all that tension in a top that's that thick.
But we talk about the bracing and where the bracing is, whether it's forward shifted or X, and we talk about the tone bars, we talk about the resonance and how the bridge is affecting, how everything is driving the top.
Yeah. I think in the luthier world, there are very, I mean, there's loads of belief in what the top does when you can go down that rabbit hole, but I think there's less conversation about the back, but there's very clear, people have very clear thoughts about it. So I didn't know much about the back. I don't know much about the back, apart from the fact that I do believe the back is super important because it's a massive part of the guitar and how they reflect frequency and activity and vibration. In fact, even when we did that thing on laminates, we had solid tops and different style laminate backs from all sorts of different woods. We could hear the difference. So I turned to a book called The Responsive Guitar by Irvin Somoji, who is a wonderful luthier and wonderful thinker, an academic really about building guitars. Probably been building guitars for 40, 45 years or something. Very scientific. And I got reading about his thoughts on this, which is super interesting. How he breaks it down is, and he believes the back is immensely important. That there's sort of different types of backs, and there's different, you build a guitar knowing what the back, or trying to know what the back's relationship is to the top. So you've got the top, you know, the tone, the voice, you're voicing that top but it has a relationship to the back. And there are different types of making the back. And he boils it down to 3 types, basically. One is a reflector, which is what all of us generally as people who build lots of guitars, and luthiers too, where the back is made from a hardwood, it's got thick bracing, it's very taut, very strong, it reflects.
Helps to push the sound
back out.
back out.
Then there's another style of back that he refers to as a diffuser. And a diffuser would be a back which is more lightly, more delicately built in bracing and maybe its thickness. In his thinking, radiates activity. So it spreads it diffuses all the vibrations and the responses in the system around the guitar and probably out the back because it's light. And then he has something that he terms the absorber, which basically absorbs the activity and the vibration and doesn't reflect or diffuse it. And how you build a guitar, so Irvin builds guitars, in my belief, I've never played one of his guitars, but watching and listening to him, for fingerstyle players who are wanting a very accurate, very responsive instrument. They play in a different way. They hold their guitar.
They're not holding the guitar against them, or are they?
So he says that. How you hold your instrument. So basically, if you take the guitar off your body, but don't hug it, and just tap the bridge, it's very resonant. There's a note there, there's air, there's lots of activity.
There's a hollowness to the...
Correct. Now, put the back of the guitar against your body and hug it, and do the same thing. Totally different. There's definitely that woof is gone,
That's right.
Just bring it off again so everybody can hear that. I hope the mic picks up. It's very clear here.
Yeah, it should do.
So anybody who says the back doesn't do anything, that kind of throws that out the window straight away for me anyway.
Yeah.
So once you're on the guitar, the back almost becomes a reflector anyway. It's inert, right? You're stopping it. You're dampening that back. That's pushing. So every time we hug the guitar, whether it's a delicately made back or you're turning it into a reflector.
Because the air pressure has to go somewhere.
So bluegrass player, if you're playing live, you stand up, you've got a strap on, the guitar is against your body, you're dampening it, it becomes a deflector. Then you could get, this is the start of all the complications are like wood, for example. So in Irvin's, great, almost, some people might find it a little controversial, but I think it's true is, he said mahogany is an absorber compared to rosewood. Mahogany will suck the energy in, the activity, and it doesn't reflect as much back as rosewood does, which we can understand. Rosewood's harder, denser. But lots of bluegrass players love mahogany. It's an absorber. And lots of players, I've seen it dozens of times, they'll sit down with the guitar, stand up, and they'll think, oh, that's really resonant. I can feel it vibrating I can feel the back of the guitar vibrating against me. It's vibrating, you can feel that, because it's absorbing the activity. Although we may think that I can feel that resonance, it's a really responsive instrument. In Irvin's thinking, it's actually an absorber. You feel that vibration because the back is absorbing a lot of the activity, and that's what you're feeling, instead of reflecting it or diffusing it. Interesting thought, right?
Certainly is.
So he has another thing in his book, which is a very simple experiment. So if we do this, and this jumps around, and you've got no relationship. Say this is the top, and say the weight is the back, and this is the air in between. If this is dancing around, there's not much relationship going on here. This is not doing much. It's not working with my hand. But you can get this to drive under a different frequency. So if we do this, all of a sudden with hardly any movement, it's working with my hand. It's working with the top. And as he said, if the weight, the lock is the back, my hand is the top, and there's the air in between, all of a sudden we have a relationship going on. And I think he approaches the build knowing that those two plates are having a relationship.
And is this coming about because of the wood or because of the bracing on the back?
Everything.
Right.
So let's take the wood first of all. Most of us make reflectors. It's hardwood and it's heavily braced. That back is pretty strong. We do scallop, or we take down the bracing going into the kerfing, so there's more flex on the edges of the back braces.
Right.
So you're allowing.
So as the brace is touching the sides where the kerfing is, that's scalloped.
It's drastically scalloped.
Right.
So you're allowing the back to you're allowing some response and frequency to be generated. It's not totally rigid. You know, as I said about mahogany to rosewood or whatever. Or somebody like Kasha, who built really high-end classical guitars. He made guitars with redwood tops, redwood backs. So this, you know, they're soft woods with Brazilian sides. And as Irvin will say, like, if you tap tone a back, which is made from rosewood and heavily braced, that could be several semitones higher than a softwood. So all of a sudden now you've got tones going on having a relationship. So the wood is obviously something, then the thickness of that back, of how much it becomes a diffuser or a reflector, and then the bracing itself, and how the bracing is tied into the kerfing, the lining of the guitar. So that bracing's, it's decoupled. As Irvin, you can have a thick back which is coupled strongly to the sides, to the kerfing, or you can have a thin back which is delicate, which is almost decoupled. It's almost not going in. You know, it's hardly supported by the sides, like a trampoline. If you jump up and down on a trampoline, right? Obviously, what you're jumping up and down on, and how the elasticity of that and thickness, but really, it's about the springs.
It's about the amount, the springs and the tension.
Springs and the tension of the springs that are holding that, and how they're attached to the outside of the trampoline that allows you to do this. Similar with tops and backs in the relation to tying them into the sides. So we've got wood, we've got thickness of the back, how it's braced. Is it really strongly coupled to the sides, or is it virtually decoupled? All those things are going to make a difference. So if you have a lightly built back, it's going to diffuse all that energy, spread it around the guitar to the top, sides. It's going to keep that acoustic activity in the system moving. If you have a reflector, a tight, hardwood, heavily braced back, which is coupled to the sides, it's going to reflect. So it's still part of the system. The system is slightly different,
right,
but it's still keeping the acoustic activity going. The absorber, not so much. That's going to take energy. It keeps decay and sustain very quick, but it can improve musicality, as Irvin rightly taught me this week in his book, that for quick playing, you don't want all that other stuff going on. It's very musical and for certain types of music.
Question, I mean, does anyone do this? I mean, do other guitar companies, do they pay attention to the bracing on the back depending on the size of the body, or depending on the woods?
Not really.
Right. So it's a standard thing.
It's a standard thing. Most people, certainly most guitar companies who are making lots of guitars, build reflectors. Very skilled luthiers who are building an instrument for the player, and probably a very good player, who can understand the true relationship between the back and the top and everything else to get that player what he needs. And that would be consultations and understanding. Irvin makes guitars for wonderful, very intricate, accurate fingerstyle people. I've never played one of his guitars. I don't know if I'd like it. I might not. Might be too much or whatever. But most of us make reflectors. Going back to the double back, the double back is two backs, as it refers to stop what you did before, which is dampening. There's two plates. There's the back, which is kind of a fake back.
Right.
And then there's an internal back, which is probably like a quarter of an inch centimetre.
Okay.
Inside. So that's the diffuser or the reflector. The outside one is the one that you're dampening, but it isn't dampening the internal reflector.
I wonder where that idea came from. I don't know, studio design. We're talking about sound absorption, or let's say we're trying to cut down the noise between two spaces, right? You would build a double wall.
Yeah.
You'd put an air gap in the middle because the air would hit, then the energy would then reduce.
Yeah.
And then by the time it's hit the next wall, if it's bouncing backwards and forwards,
and the same
down.
Studio design with reflectors and deflectors and
and diffusers.
Oh,
you see those
they stick on the wall.
Yeah, exactly.
So what are they doing? They're throwing the sound around.
They're throwing all the frequencies everywhere so that you're not getting something from.
Same.
Yeah.
It's all It's all about managing frequency. Barry, thanks for pointing out that you said this. So basically, what Irvin, how he concludes is that the voice comes from the top. That shaping and the true personality of the instrument, most of it comes from the top, and the design of the top and the bracing. But its relationship to the back is very important, especially if we get into the semitone thing, which we will come back to. Irvin says, and I totally agree with him, is the back creates the sound presence.
Because we've already done an episode on buzzwords, and we talk about how you perceive a certain word and how I perceive. We're in the same ballpark, but we're different. You know. But presence to you is like a proximity, isn't it?
Proximity.
Yeah.
It's like when sound's almost tangible. You know, it's really present. I can feel it. But presence to you is.
Well, presence to me is the frequency bump where everybody can hear. You know, there's a kind of a between 2 and 3 kilohertz. That's the sound of, you know, I don't know, babies crying or danger or something. We focus in on that. So it's the same type of thing. It's like we're closer to that sound.
Closer.
Yeah.
So the back. So I know this has been a ramble, but and we'll come back to something. We'll try and prove some of this. But the back being that what Irvin says is it contributes to the sound presence. I think that's a great term. Whether it's diffusing, reflecting, or absorbing, you know, to me that's all physical mechanics, motion. It's air, and if the back is doing something or made in a way that is really impacting that, I get where he's getting to. So Barry, I think you've started something for me.
So what are we going to do about it, Chris?
I think we're going to build a bunch of samples, because I need to know this. Because what Irvin does so well is, you know, the mechanics and the sort of science of it. Let's build exactly the same guitar with various backs.
Okay.
Thin backs, thicker backs.
And then we can get just the backs as well, so we can show what's being done. Yeah.
It'll take us a couple of months.
Okay.
But we'll revisit this and we'll mic it all up. And we've got loads of guitars being made at the moment to answer people's questions.
I know.
Like different things. Like we did with the tone bars, you know, we went guitar without any tone bars, and we've got another 2 sets to try and prove things. Let's see if we can really show in an audible way, thinking behind all of these different back constructions.
Brilliant.
Diffusers, reflectors,
absorbers.
Barry, thanks for your observation, and it's been great diving into it.
Excellent. Thank you.
See you, everybody.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, click the like button and consider subscribing to our channel. If you want to watch more videos like this one, click the video on the screen now.